Chapter 6. The Floating Boneyard. In every corner of the many worlds are places like the floating boneyard, where ships go to die, or await to be reborn. As the silent wraith entered the watery grave, James was astounded by Blackbeard's navigational skill traversing such tight spaces. The entrance was a marvel. It was flanked by two enormous statues of Poseidon that stretched taller than the highest mountain. And once through the cyclopean gates, they glided past ships in all manner of disrepair. James had never seen such ships, gilded in gold, some with sirens as their figurehead, and others adorned with ornately carved krakens and skeletons, and flying colorful flags. The Viking ships were the most spectacular, with their stately mythical figureheads of sea serpents with great horns and depictions of their gods and runes carved into their expertly crafted hulls. He had always imagined Viking ships to be much larger, but their smaller size did not diminish their majesty and wonder. Some were in pristine condition, looking as if they were waiting for a captain to claim them, while others looked as though only a miracle kept them afloat. The silent wraith effortlessly cut through the thick mist that hovered on the water's surface as it glided past the beauty and decay. James thought there was a particular loveliness to things that were forgotten and neglected, and longed to learn the stories of all the ships in the boneyard so that he could chronicle them. As he took in the awesome sight, James noticed that where the mist was thinnest, he could see light shining below in the watery depths. The flickering lights seemed to beckon him, and he wondered if that was where he would learn the tales of these glorious vessels. "Don't look at the lights too long, James, else they shall lure you in," said Blackbeard, keeping his gaze forward. James could see Blackbeard was searching for a particular ship. "What are they, the lights?" asked James, feeling a strange and powerful desire to dive into the water and see for himself. "Candles, lit by the souls of captains who refused to leave their ships and be ushered to the world beyond by the Flying Dutchman," said Blackbeard. It sent a shiver through James that made him feel colder than he'd ever been. James was mesmerized by the beauty and terror of this place, looking down at all the candlelights glittering in the water. "But where are the captains?" he asked. "Holding their candles," said Blackbeard. James imagined what it must be like for the poor dead souls forever trapped in this place, and wondered if he would find himself there one day. "What a horrible thought," said James, trying to shake off the chill that overtook him. "Don't fret, young sir. If the ship is reclaimed by another captain, the light goes out and the spirit is set free. Some of the spirits eventually choose to move beyond the veil, while others inhabit their ships, like this one. That is why I call her the Silent Wraith. She is imbued with the spirits of her previous captains. I will be sad to be parted from her," said Blackbeard. James had always felt there was something otherworldly about Blackbeard's ship, and now he knew why. As James looked around at the literal sea of ships that stretched before him, seemingly endless in its splendor and corrosion, his eyes fixed on a magnificent tall ship, fully rigged with massive sails. It seemed almost magical to James, all red and gold, with its Jolly Roger flag blowing proudly in the wind. It was by no means the most stately one in the boneyard, but there was something about the ship that drew James to it. He saw himself on it, and knew somehow it was the next step in his journey to find Neverland. "Aye, the Jolly Roger. She is a beauty, isn't she?" said Blackbeard, seeing James cast his eye on the beautiful ship. "Cursed she was by 3 witches. As I sailed her from their shores with some of their treasures, they said the only way to break the curse was to give her away freely to someone who saved my life. And that is you, James. She is yours." Then added, "And so is my crew." James thought he couldn't possibly be hearing Blackbeard correctly. There was no way he could be giving him this ship and his crew. But sir, we've only started our journey together. I couldn't let you give me your ship. You'll make a fine captain, James. My time has finally come to an end. I'm tired of running from my fate. You reminded me of that when we were talking earlier. Blackbeard was now looking down at the lights flickering under the water. Do you think that's what I'm doing, sir? Running from my fate? Asked James, thinking of his life back home and the promise he made to himself when he thought he was going to die. Though he could hardly call what he had back home in London a life. If he were there now, his mother would be thrusting every eligible young lady in front of him until he agreed to marry one of them. And what would his life be like once married? Suffocating in drawing rooms, longing to be in Neverland. Was that his fate? He knew plenty of men who'd escaped their arranged marriages and took up bad habits, spending all their time at their club, arrested in their development, seeming to never grow up, and he wondered if they, too, had fallen out of their proms and gotten a taste for Neverland. James didn't want to spend his life that way. He would make sure his mother was well taken care of, but he would not forfeit his dreams. Even if he never found Neverland, at least on the open sea, he felt like he could breathe. You're running toward your fate, a better life, and you have it all before you. You get to choose the sort of man you want to be. It's your choice, James. No one else's, said Blackbeard, taking something golden from the wooden chest adorned with a menacing eye that seemed to be looking into James's soul. I want you to have these, James. I found them in a distant magical land called the Many Kingdoms, the captain said, handing James a pair of gold boot buckles and a rolled piece of parchment. And that, my friend, is a map to the Many Kingdoms. I know it's not your beloved Neverland, but it is a wondrous place full of magic. I need you to seek out the 3 most powerful witches in those lands and tell them I have given you my ship so they may release me from their curse. And I am sure they can show you the way to Neverland. But be careful, James. There is always a price with the Odd Sisters. The Odd Sisters? Are these the witches who cursed you in your ship? The very ones. But you're smarter than I was at your age, my boy. You won't fall into one of their sticky traps. Simply do the favor they require of you for the information you seek. Nothing, more or less, and whatever you do, don't lie. Try to deceive them or take their treasures. They always know. That was my mistake. And these boot buckles, were they, too, a gift from the witches? Asked James. A gift of sorts, said Blackbeard, laughing. Let's just say I wouldn't wear them when you pay them a visit. But you needn't worry about the curse on the ship. I have fulfilled my end by giving it to someone who saved my life. The witches are treacherous, but they do keep their word, for good or for ill. James held the boot buckles in his hand and felt a wave of fear pass through him, a tingling sensation that ran through his entire body. He dropped the buckles and they clattered to the floor. He looked down at them, hesitating before picking them up. The buckles aren't cursed, my boy, said Blackbeard. How do you know they are not cursed? Said James. The Odd Sisters love to brag about their misdeeds. I imagine if they were cursed, they would have delighted in telling me so, said Blackbeard. And you think these women will help you find Neverland? James asked. I do, my boy, else I wouldn't charge you with this mission, even if it meant I continued to live with this curse they have set upon my soul. But I thought you said the curse was broken, asked James, wondering again if this was all a dream. The curse on the ship is broken, James, but not the curse on my soul. In order to break that, I need you to visit the Odd Sisters and let them know you have taken possession of my ship. There were so many things James wanted to say, so many questions he wanted to ask, but he could see Blackbeard was exhausted. He still looked terribly injured from their ordeal with the Kraken, and the harrowing events with the Flying Dutchman's captain. He could see all Blackbeard wanted was to rest. This man had given him everything, and now he was sending him to a place where he might achieve his dream. The least he could do was deliver a message to the Odd Sisters. How will I know these Odd Sisters when I get to the many kingdoms? These are no ordinary witches, James. You will know them when you see them. It has been many years since I visited these witches, but if all their stories are to be believed, they won't have changed. Their beauty is so ill-proportioned they are unnatural, yet striking and dangerously compelling, and each of them looks like the other. And don't worry about finding them. They will seek you out the moment you hit the Morningstar shores. I feel strange forebodings, sir. When I touch these boot buckles, said James, picking them up and putting them in his inside breast pocket, they make me feel afraid. They are worthy of a captain, James. You fear what they symbolize, but you are the bravest man I have ever met. Any man in your position would be afraid. You're about to captain your own ship and take a voyage to a land filled with witches, fairies, and all manner of creatures. The journey will bring you closer to your goal, and that is always frightening, my son, because realizing one's dreams can be a terrifying venture, for fear they don't meet one's expectations. Blackbeard put his hand on James's shoulder. James decided Blackbeard was right. He was afraid of finally realizing his dream, which he had wanted for so long. Are you sure I'm ready, sir? I'd so like to serve alongside you for a while longer. Won't you come with me to the many kingdoms? He asked, knowing he was going to miss Blackbeard. Alas, I am barred from ever returning. I know you are ready, James. You were the captain today. You saved me and these men, and now they will do anything for you. They will follow you anywhere you venture, even Neverland. Please, my boy, take this gift I am giving you in gratitude for saving my life and the life of my crew. I would take this journey with you if I could, my friend, but you are taking paths I cannot follow. The only other thing I ask for in return is to get yourself a proper pirate's name, he said, chuckling. Where will you go? Asked James. I will be going down with the other captains and lighting a candle of my own.